We're talking about the coaching box and who should have been there and maybe why people weren't there sooner. Bill Landis, Ari Wasserman, Doug Lesmerises. One big change Saturday at Michigan was that Ed Warinner, the offensive line coach, was upstairs for the first time all year. Ari, we saw the result. In your opinion, is that something that maybe we should have seen earlier? You talked to Ed and wrote the story after the game. Should it have happened before week 12?
You know, what we have is what happened at Michigan, what happened the week before, and what happened in between. So that was the loss at Michigan State, the decision that something was wrong, the change to the box, and then the results of it. So sometimes I think when we're looking at Ohio State, it's kind of hard to change things because things had been going so well. But when you kind of look back in hindsight now, Ohio State's offense at times struggled, especially in the Northern Illinois game. And it got to the point where they lost a game. And when they lost the game, they made a change, and the change seemed to work when they played perhaps the best defense on their schedule. So I think it's easy to say right now that it probably should have occurred sooner. And when you look at it, it's just, if you're Urban Meyer and there was an issue with the frequency or how quickly plays are getting in, how much an offensive coordinator can see the field from the sideline while also coaching the offensive line, and maybe the power of being up in a comfortable box and directing people rather than being part of a conversation. It's easy to maybe, it's just something that maybe should have happened sooner.
It seemed like guys after the game, some of the offensive linemen were saying things like, sort of like, see, look, this is what Ed Warinner can do when he's in the position to do so. You know, after the Michigan State game, I wrote, basically blaming the play caller, whoever that is. And we know it's a combined effort. But after seeing this, Bill, I mean, is this like, okay, well, it worked when Ed Warinner got up there. So if we're trying to figure out why it didn't work, did it maybe not work because of Tim Beck? I mean, is that can we narrow the focus on where more of the issue was?
Yeah, I think so. And I think part of it is, too, I mean, Tim Beck got criticism, and Ed Warinner got criticism, too, and it was deserved. Tim Beck came in here his first year, didn't quite have his finger on the pulse of this team, what works well, what they like to run. And I guess that's something you should have figured out by, after a couple of games, a few weeks into the season. If it was him calling the plays, he clearly didn't have that because we've heard it. I mean, I know Ezekiel Elliott had his little rant after the game, but it was nothing different than what we heard from offensive linemen all year. Is they like certain plays, and they think those plays work well, and they like tempo. And for whatever reason, Ohio State didn't do that very often this year and did it for the entire game against Michigan when Ed Warinner, a guy who's been here and knows the personnel and knows what they like and knows what this team can do well, was finally up in the box and was able to survey things and didn't have – I don't know what the reservation was. If it was that Urban Meyer didn't want Ed Warinner to not be down there with his linemen, I think that was kind of maybe unplaced fear. I don't know if that was a necessary thing that he had to be afraid of because it seemed to work pretty well against Michigan and they have veteran guys there. But yeah, if Ed Warinner being up there was the sole difference in the way that offense looked against Michigan, then I guess Tim Beck was maybe not put in the right position or didn't quite know how to handle his responsibilities as a play caller.
And I think this does come back a little bit on Urban Meyer because it's his decision how that stuff goes. He's the boss. He could have changed it earlier, but it does seem like just almost from a logistical standpoint, if the offense was moving faster at Michigan, they must have just been flowing better, getting the calls in, it seems like.
Of course. I mean, I think there is a difference between being upstairs and having everything in front of you and having a better vantage point of the game itself and being able to call plays quicker. Is that a word?
Nope.
Quicker.
More quickly.
Swifter. Swifty. Faster. Because I think there's probably a chance that they're in the headsets. What's the down and distance? And it could get kind of convoluted. But I'll ask you, who was the offensive coordinator last year?
I can't remember.
Tom Herman.
Tom Herman. He's at Houston now.
Where did Tom Herman sit?
He sat upstairs.
So I know that it's there's a bit of a difference because Herman was also the quarterback's coach. So the thing I don't understand is Ed Warinner is the offensive coordinator of this team, and how Tim Beck was the eye in the sky who was calling plays or maybe having a very big impact because it's a three-man show between Urban Meyer, Ed Warinner, and Tim Beck. To me, it seems like the wrong person has been in the press box all year because the quarterback coach doesn't have to get 5 people coordinated. They can just talk to the one guy from the field. So it just seems like there was a loss. They adjusted. The adjustment worked. So you have to question why wasn't that adjustment identified before the loss happened.
We are always in the box.
It's true.
We see.
That's where the food is. Bill Landis, Ari Wasserman, Doug Lesmerises. Thanks for watching at cleveland.com.